Look, at this point, if you're rooting for the middlemen that crypto was invented to get rid of, you forgot the reason crypto was invented, or you never cared in the first place. More than ever, I see people worshiping middlemen like BlackRock to pump their bags, and wishing ill on some of the only people that want to do good in this space, like Richard Hart, who was corruptly accused by the SEC and Interpol. But people don't realize that he's about to get dismissed. The SEC case has a good chance of being dismissed altogether, and that this is really just a matrix attack on somebody that's shaking the status quo. The most recent FUD, with Interpol putting Richard on a red notice, might be scary, and some people, some haters, might want him to fail because they're jealous. They might want to believe it. But when you look under the hood, you realize you can find all kinds of examples of Interpol corruption. Look at the old CBS documentary from a month ago, the 60 Minutes, about countries abusing the Interpol red notice system just to go after their political enemies. Or how about the Guardian article about Meng Hongwei, jailed for bribery, a former security vice minister working for Interpol, arrested by his own country of China. Of course, for political reasons, you could also watch the Vice documentary.
A media outcry, Bahrain backed down and his red notice was lifted and he was released. Other countries continue issuing red notices to target political dissidents and activists.
It's an 11-minute video about Interpol corruption and about weaponizing the legal system against political enemies. It's called Lawfare. Check out my Twitter and watch that video. Or maybe what about Jackie Salebi, South Africa's corrupt police chief, who, guess what, used to work at Interpol also. Or I could point you to an article about Interpol red notices and how they're being exploited to target high net worth individuals, such as a Chinese-Canadian billionaire, Jiao Jinhua, or similarly, Bill Browder, one of Russia's largest foreign investors. All these guys are high net worth individuals or political opponents of the system, the establishment. And unfortunately, Interpol has become the corruption arm to weaponize against anybody that they think is a threat or anybody that they want to shake down for money. Richard Hart, it's most likely they just want to shake him down because they found out about the sacrifice phase, raising $1 billion, and they want some of that tax money because governments across the globe, not only are they corrupt, but they're also broke. They issue way more debt than they actually have GDP. So they're adding in false, assault cases that nobody believes, especially when they can be proven wrong by looking at Richard Hart's hands literally a day after the alleged assault charge was filed. I mean, even a 5-year-old could see that that's not true. And the irony of the whole thing is, the SEC says Hex and Paulson are securities, whereas Interpol wants tax money for these sacrifice phases. But these two accusations contradict each other. Which one is it? Is it a taxable event or is it a security? Because if either of these were true, and I believe both are false, but one would negate the other. So people don't realize the hypocrisy of this whole thing, and on top of that, the timing of the Interpol red notice for Richard Hart was uncanny. Don't you think it's a little fishy that this round of FUD that's actually being regurgitated, recycled from a year ago, this is actually not new, but it's being resurfaced right before Richard potentially beats the SEC with a full case dismissal. Now, if you don't want to take all of our word for it, you can go watch Richard Hart's latest YouTube video. Ask yourself, does that seem like a guy who is scared about losing? Does that seem like a guy who's unsafe or who's on the run? And go watch his old YouTube comment. Does it actually seem like the bad guy here? We need to stop rooting for the authoritarian regime that crypto was invented to get rid of and realize that people like Richard Hart, they're on your team, they're on Team Crypto, and a win for him is a win for all of us, is a win for all of crypto.